Welcome back to the Encore Audio YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. My first group that I ever recorded was Underearners Anonymous. A friend of mine, Frank Brigiotti, who's on my channel, he passed away some time ago. He had some kind of cancer, but Frank was a great guy. He wanted to try to change my name from Taper Dave to Digital Dave. I've still got the shirt, the South Bay Roundup shirt, in my closet that he had embroidered Digital Dave. But he asked me if I wouldn't mind recording this group, Underearners Anonymous, and I said, sure, I'll record anything anonymous. So here you go. Enjoy, comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe, whatever you do. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. That helps me out a lot. Doesn't cost you a thing. Just click on the like button. You have a good day if you want to. Take care.
Good morning. Welcome to Journey Through the Steps at the Mary and Joseph Retreat Center. This is the second day, Underearners Anonymous study review of the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today we're going to be focusing on step 4 and 5. After a moment of silence for the sick and suffering inside and outside this room, please join me in saying the Serenity Prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things cannot change, the courage to change the things that can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Before we begin, we're going to go through a little review of the principles of step 1. Who knows that? Step 2? Step 3? Okay. The principles of step 4 and 5 are, step 4 is truth. Truth. Step 5 is honesty. The difference between truth and honesty is real simple. If I have a sore throat, if I have a pimple on my nose, and I say to you, I have a pimple on my nose, I'm telling you the truth. But in that process, I'm being honest about what is true. If I say, I feel like killing myself, that's my truth today, and I'm being honest to you about that truth. So the difference between truth and honesty is that honesty is the telling to another or to yourself about what is in fact the case. So in step 4, we're looking at what is in fact the case. Step 4 and 5, just like 8 and 9, is a very integral part of the 12-step process, because what we're really doing is clearing a channel to God. We've got a lot of self-will. We've got a lot of fears, a lot of justifiable resentments, a lot of feelings that what they did to me, what he did to me, what she did to me. And our minds are like video tape players. We'll play those scenes over and over again. And through that playing, and even if it's on a daily basis from what happened yesterday, we're blocking the will of God. And we're actually staying as victims. I came out of a childhood that was a mental institution. My mother was confined to Brooklyn State Mental Institution. Her brother, who had a prefrontal lobotomy, would come home, walk around the house like Frankenstein. My father left when I was probably about 2, went back to Israel. And my mother, in between her visits to the asylum, was married to a man who was an assistant pants presser from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, who spent 7 years living in the basement. And he would come up once a week. My grandparents were very, very sick people. My grandmother was a conditional Orthodox Judaism person who would say things like, "You'd make me so happy if you did this. You'd make me so happy if you did that." Usually, it had to do with putting on a yarmulke, davening, going to shul, and in between that, I went to a shul where the rabbis hit me, said I was either stupid or lazy. And then I would come back and spend the next 8 hours in the asylum with any one of the characters. Oh, well, there was also a retarded uncle who lived there, my home was considered like I was like a pariah, like on the block, because none of my friends wanted to come visit me without police protection. I was in my backyard, had caution tape around it, and so I, for many years, hung on to this. This was a festival of resentment. It was like the Super Bowl of resentment. How could I not keep pointing back and say what they did to me, what they did? So that went on for a long time. And my relationship with God was, God, how can you look at the life you gave me? I have like this guy named Maya living in the basement. My father's in Israel. I got mental mom. I got lobotomized Joe walking around like Frankenstein. I got a retarded uncle. This is what you've given me? You got rabbis who are hitting me? But in doing step 4, this is actually very recent in the beverage program, and before that with John, I had to look at what my part in it was. We have 5 character defects. Those character defects are fear, self-seeking, selfishness, dishonesty, and inconsideration. The daddy of them all, of course, is fear. Fear drives the other 4. We all have the basic fear that we're going to lose what we have, not get what we want. And those fears never completely go away. But, of course, we're not going to get into, like, step 10 or 11 right now, or the psychic change that we go through. There are 3 instincts that we have. We have social, sexual, and survival. We also have ambition. And underneath that are hidden sex relations, self-esteem, pride. And what happens with us every day is that we have those 3 basic instincts: social, sexual, and survival. And then we have our 5 character defects. And I hear many people in the rooms looking at anger as a character defect. It's not. They're looking at pride as one of the basic character defects. It's not. No, it's a grosser handicap. Being a rageaholic, being a codependent, being alanonic. These are grosser handicaps that come out of the basic 5 character defects. And I think it's really important for me to remember that I've got these 5, and I got to, look at them. Okay. The 5 character defects are fear, selfishness, self-seeking, dishonesty, and inconsideration. And that's why in my life I lied, I conned, I cheated. Yeah? No, I'm not talking about if you're crossing the street and there's a garbage truck coming down at 60 miles an hour and you move out of the way. No, that's... Yeah, I mean, again, the whole fear thing is really about the fears. And let's get real here about what we're talking about within UA. The fear is what we have is asking for a raise, asking for what the market will bear. If we're contractors and our costs are $3,000, we don't charge the client $3,000. We charge $6,000 or $7,500 if we have even more recovery. If we're artists, we don't keep our paintings in the closet or under the bed. We say, hey, let me talk with two people in the fellowship and maybe go to 5 galleries, have an exhibition, right? Put our stuff out there. Because in my life, because of my 5 character defects, I've wasted probably about 1 million hours of time. Wasted. I didn't time debt. There's no time debting. So if anyone ever hears time debting, tell the person who just said that to keep coming back. Say, pal, keep coming back with the time debting. Because we can't pay back time. There's no time bank that we're taking time away from and bringing the time back. Here's the money. If there is, I'd like someone tell me about it at the end of the meeting. So there's no time debting. There's time wasting. I've wasted countless years. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know why when I took a voiceover class and I spent $175 and I bought my tapes and I had my headshots and I sent it out to non-union houses and I finally got a job and I remember sitting, doing the first voiceover. The cotton 498 will extract lubricity at a higher level of fiber content per second. And I just remember the guy's head going back and forth, and I got my check for $175, my first non-union gig, and guess what? Cut off. I didn't understand why when I went to the pit of grease and Pearly with my guitar and wanted to sub for the guitar player, that I had absolutely no technical ability to do that, and I didn't understand why I put myself in that situation. I didn't understand why every time I wanted to be a writer, comedian, author, videographer, that the energy just cut off, because the low bottom of this disease is not about money. It's ultimately about having the energy being totally cut off for prosperity. And I didn't know why. I had no idea why. But it all comes down to the fact that my channel to God was blocked up and impacted. And no matter what I wanted to do, I remember I came out here with a Seinfeld spec script, and they said, hey, we want you to rewrite it because the characters aren't strong enough. Could I do that? No. Insanity. I remember getting an option to work at the Disney writer development course. Did I do it? I couldn't. Did I know why? No. See, the thing is that with this insanity is it's like someone's going to an alcoholic saying, why are you drinking so much? And it says right there in the big book. The guy, they said Dave, who started AA in Canada. Well, Dave, why are you drinking so much? You got a nice wife. You got kids. He said, I don't know. No idea. No idea. So all of this behavior toward music, dysfunctional, toward art, toward vision, towards money, was dysfunctional. And what did I do? Over and over again, I came back to the smallest type of life because of my 5 character defects of fear, self-interest, honesty, and consideration. Now, let's put that into a cartoon form. What does that really mean? It means that I was a wounded animal. I was a wounded animal. I had a big bloody gash down the center of my stomach. Big bloody gash. And what happens to an animal when it has a big bloody gash? Where does it go? Where? You're right. And what happens when you try to take that animal out of the cave? What do we do when people try to take us out of our cave? That's right. That's right. So let's keep UA really simple and understand that the step 4 and 5, 8, 9, and really working it, as our life dependent on it, is by saying to God, please let me serve you. Let me serve the community. Let me serve the universe. Please help me today. Right now, every day I say to God, I don't even use the term turn it over. I don't even use the term turn it, God, I'm turning it over to you, because that's very, very weak. I say, God, please help me with my business today. Please help me with my vision today, if it is your will to do so. If it is your will to do so. I say, please help me with my work today. I don't say, God, please give me $5,000. I don't say, God, give me $10,000. I say, please help me with my vision, or help me make a living today, if it is your will to do so. And whenever I say that, I go through a very strong spiritual change. And the anxiety goes down, the serenity goes up, the fear goes, and I may have to do that a couple of times a day, but it works. And in the last week, thousands of dollars of business was written based on that. And sometimes I was just led into the right account. It's like, just go right over there. Just go there. And I remember on Friday, I was looking at an ad slick, a proof, and it was a veterinarian. And it was for an area that I was working in, because I still sell advertising. And I said, gee, I never saw this before. Where did this come from? So I just called the secretary, found out that they paid their bill, walked over to the place. Guy, yeah, $2,000 renewal. Just like that. And I really attribute that to the fact that I wasn't going, where am I? Who's going to get money? I wasn't doing that. I was saying, God, please help me with my business today, if it be your will to do so. May thy will be done. May thy will be done. So all of my array of under-earning behavior over 30 years was coming, without my knowing it, out of my 5 character defects. Because did I really want to serve the community? No. Did I want to serve God? No. Was I blocked? Was my will blocking off God? Yes. Now here's the thing about my childhood. I painted a very grim picture of being raised with mentally ill people, and a very deadly blend of mixing theology and mental illness. But here's what I learned. My character, I was not just subjected to them. They were subjected to me. Because I was a very sick kid in a sick family. So it wasn't like I was this angelic, cherubic-like waif. I was a sick little kid. So I was dishonest with them, yes. Was I a con artist with them? Yeah. Did I lie to them? Sure. Did I do whatever I could to be selfish, dishonest, and inconsiderate? Yeah. So I was in a sick environment, and they said, look at you, you're selfish and you're dishonest and considerate. And I said, fine. See, there's no winning in that environment, because they were sick to me, I was sick to them, and it was a continual cycle of sickness. Thank God I got out of that environment when I was 16, or I'd be living in an SRO hotel now with a container of milk on the windowsill. But when one of the things, so I learned this, and with sponsees, I also learned that if you're in a situation, this is going to get a little dark, where a kid is being sexually molested by his father, and the mother is in total denial about it, are those 5 character defects of that kid coming up right then? Of fear, selfishness, inconsideration, and dishonesty. It could be to the child himself. The kid, that dishonesty could be to the child that we were, when our fathers or mothers might have been on the living room floor in a blackout, when we could have been touched inappropriately, when we could have been derided, negated, castigated by our friends and family. Those 5 character defects were in us. Now, this is not a punitive thing. This is not an indictment of the 5, 6, 7-year-old children that we were. It's an inventory. And when I began to see that my 5 character defects of fear, selfishness, inconsideration, dishonesty, self-seeking, were raising their ugly head, guess what? I became a lot less of a victim. And in some cases, I stopped being a victim at all. Because I'd rather see myself as and it's true. I mean, I used to have an uncle. His name was Uncle Larry. And he had lived with his sister in a three-room apartment for 40 years. And he had stopped brushing his teeth after his paper to Columbia University on the American Indian was rejected, and had a bookstore where he had books just piled up all over the floor. And he never spoke real sentences. He'd always say things like, Andrew, oh, Andrew. And it used to drive me crazy. And I was 6 and 7 years old, and I would go over to him and I'd spit in his hand. I'd spit in this guy's hand because I wanted a reaction. But what was coming out of me in relation to him was fear, selfishness, inconsideration, and dishonesty. So the sickness in me was coming out to him, and it could be no other way, because I was in a sick environment. I was with sick teachers, sick parents, and it went on for 16 years. So this session is going to follow the structure of yesterday's session, where we're going to do some writing. So the first part of it is tell yourselves, tell your neighbor, and then tell the room. So since step 4 relates to fear, sexual history, and resentment, and this is not meant to substitute working it with a sponsor. And when I worked this step with John, it went on for like 3 months, and I felt like I was having a cup of wheatgrass every morning. And that's okay, because that's really, if you feel like you're having a cup of wheatgrass or cod liver oil, then you're doing it right. It's not a fun step, but the medicine is priceless. It's not a fun step, but the medicine of this step is priceless, and it's impossible to recover in 12 step without a strong, in fact, if they actually say in AA, if you don't do a strong 4th, you'll drink a 5th. It's amazing the beverages, amazing the advantages I've gotten from being in the beverage program for pithy sayings. It's a festival of pithy sayings. Okay, so what I see, also the thing about step 4, in that when we go through that, we realize that every day we have to have vigilance. So we have to look at where step 4 is, what like step 4 is in our life. So every day it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, but since we're not doing those, we're just thinking about step 4. I got to want to count. And this happened to me the other day. It's a true story. I spoke to this woman, I believe it was on a Friday. She said, yes, I'd love to see your advertising. My sister-in-law is doing it. She loves it. My husband's doing it. She loves it. Come on down Monday morning, and I'll make a decision while you're there. What I do, people have to make a decision while I'm there, or it goes into sales ozone, but that's another question. So I go, that sounds good, right? So I go there on Monday morning. And immediately I know it's all wrong, because I could just see this. She's like not there. She's not like into the thing. She's looking at it objectively and with distance and fear. And she said, well, my husband really doesn't like it. And what I really want to do is just, take your card and think about it. I just want to think about it. And in the world that I am temporarily, think about it means forget about it. She's saying, I want to just take your card and forget about it. I want you to leave. I want you to get out of here. So that sale not happening, because it was on a deadline day, affected what instincts in me? The three instincts. And maybe even sexual, right? Okay, fine. We don't have to go that... What character defects were hit by her saying, give me your card, let me think about it? Okay, what else? Fear. Always fear. Remember, it's always fear. Inconsideration, yes. And inconsideration. Selfishness. Because I took the card, and I just sort of did one of those things. She looked at me and said, what planet did you just come from? What are you you were just flinging your card across the green. Because basically an ugly part of me was coming out, right? So I go back to the car, and I'm thinking, halfway down the block, all right, it's time for a spot check, what? Inventory, right. And I said, okay, Andrew, what's going on now? Do we have the fear? Yes. Do we have dishonesty? Yes. Do we have inconsideration? Yes. Do we have selfishness? And I knew at that moment, 9 o'clock, it was on Monday, that if I didn't go back and do an immediate step 8 and 9, say, listen, I am sorry, my fear got in the way, my character defects got in the way, I knew that if I didn't do that, the day would be tarnished. It just would. I'd be walking around with it the whole day. My channel for prosperity would be what? Blocked. It would be blocked. So, do you think I went back and apologized? You think I went back and said, well, I'm sorry, my character defects, my fear got in the way, and I can only say I'm so sorry and I wish you well in your business, looking her directly in the eye. Do I get the Golden Microphone Award yet? So I did that. And towards the end of the day, my channel for prosperity was open. And I was able to say, God, please help me for the rest with my business, because other things went wrong during that day. People didn't show up. It was a whole bunch of stuff. But toward the end of the day, another $1,900 business was written. And that would not have happened if I would have just said, I can't believe she just said no, spoken to her sister. How can she do that? You know, what kind of person is this? So that didn't happen. I wished her well. I got back to that state of peace, and the day ended financially successfully. Not as successfully as I wanted to, but it did. Revenue was written, and that was the point of why I was out there in Passaic, New Jersey. So what what we're going to do is we're going to do some step 4 and step 5 today. So I would like people to write either their fears or their let's stay with resentments, because resentments are the first offender, and that can and it could be from people yesterday, and so the way we're going to do this is based on our friend Joe McHugh, the Joe McHugh technique. Take a couple of columns. So column 1 is I resent. Write 20 people that you resent. 20 people that you resent in column 1. And draw the first column, top to bottom of the page. Second, and on the top of the column, write I resent. The second column, write why. And why do I resent them? And then in that column, we write because he did this, because he said that, because she didn't say that, because of what they did. But I want you to write 20 reasons for resentment, or 20 resentment names, institutions, or people on the first column. Don't go on to the second column until you finish the first column, because we need to focus on a per column basis. Then we go on to the second column after we finished the first column, and we write why. On the third column, write what instincts of mine did they affect. And again, those instincts are social, sexual, and survival. But don't go on to that third column until we've written the second column, because we want to focus mentally on one column at a time. We don't want to put our brain through these different gears of accusation, analysis. It's just way too complex process. So one column at a time. And we're doing 20 resentments. Then we're going to write what character defects of mine came up in this resentment. And again, the 5 character defects, we've been through that, so we know what the character defects are. So write in the next column what character defects are there. Yeah.
On the character defects, you have selfishness and self-seeking.
Yes.
Can you please explain a little bit more detail what the difference between those?
when I was in my childhood, when I was, when my grandmother said, "Oh, you'd make me so happy if you went to synagogue," within the core of my mentally ill family, I would go to the front of the shul and sing Adon Olam, which was a Jewish song, because she was sort of like smiling at me. Inside, I was seething. Inside, I was hurt. Inside, all of my truths were under wraps. But I was doing it to con her. So when if I want to have sex with somebody, and I'm doing whatever I can to persuade them to do that, and I really don't like her or care about her, I'm self-seeking. I'm trying to con. It's sort of like a con. It's like you're schnoring it. There's a Jewish word. You're schnoring it. You're conning. You're manipulating. Right, John? It's like that sort of a. Yeah.
Self-seeking is only concerned with self, but you can get at people based on things. Selfishness, on the other hand, is the core thing. Really not to give to anybody, yourself. So in a way, there's similarity, but self-seeking is like you're really going out there and looking for what you can get out of life, and to help everybody else.
Right.
So that's not very spiritual.
Right. It's basically we're not caring. We're not thinking about what we can pack into the stream of life, as they say in the literature. So write out 20. So again, one column at a time. First column is who or what do I resent. Second is what instincts are affected. Third is what character defects are coming up in that specific resentment. And then after, we're going to probably take 10 minutes for that. We'll add another 5 minutes. Then 5 minutes of telling your partner. And then we're going to ring the bell. And then 5 minutes of your partner telling you, which is step 5. We're going into step 5. And then some brave people will, stand up and share about what those resentments are, because we're only as sick as our secrets. And if we get it out of our head, yeah. Yeah, social, yeah, right. And let's start. We'll go for 10 minutes, and if we need another 5, we'll do that. Searching and fearless. Fact-finding, fact-seeking. Okay, do people need another 5 minutes? Okay. Yeah. If you don't finish all 20, it's okay. It's more important to go through the process. If you do 5 or 10 or whatever, it's going through the process of really breaking it down to the simplicity. So don't get into the thing, I got to do 20. It's just a suggestion. And that could be as recent as what happened this morning during a phone call, some of the things that happened yesterday, or 30 years ago. Okay, guys. The only step we do perfectly is step 1. So wherever we are, I'm going to take 5 minutes, turn to the partner next to you, and turn over step 5, in a micro step 5, which is basically telling your partner about your fears, your resentments, what character defects are manifesting through them, and what instincts are being affected. After 5 minutes, we're going to ring the bell, and the other person gets to talk. Begin now. Okay, so let's take a group conscience here. We could either go to sharing within the room or continue talking to your neighbor. Who's in favor of doing sharing now? Sharing the steps 4 and 5. Who wants to continue talking to their neighbor? Again, who wants to go into sharing now? We have like 10 minutes. 7 minutes. One more time. Who is in favor of sharing right now? Who wants to continue talking to the neighbor? Okay, the sharing wins. All right, so let's do some shares on step 4 and 5. Who'd like to go first? Go ahead. Yeah, come to the mic. In fact, why don't we line up so we have less space on the tape, on the disc? Oh, you got it, great. If you want to share, please go to that side of the room. Go ahead. You are? Yeah.
My name is Shaha. I'm an under-earner. I resent the United States of America. Why? Because I always left this country without money. No one here will take care of me. They're only about the money. I was unable to be successfully professional. It affected my social, my sexual, and my survival. My defects are selfishness, fear of rejection, fear of not being able to be professional, selfishness, self-seeking, and inconsiderate, dishonest. Should I carry and do one more? Or?
Okay, thank you. If anyone is concerned about anonymity, just say you're somebody else. You don't have to say you're you.
Hi, I'm somebody else. You never know how God's going to work, and I'm going to divert a little bit from what was required, because I have pages and pages of writing about my history, and for 40 years I have carried a burden on my shoulders of my childhood and wanting to be an actor. And I worked in Hollywood briefly, but I had 2 teaching credentials, and the mantle above me was the most important thing, is to be somebody, how it fits in all of this. And I went on to get my master's and my doctorate, and I was somebody, and I've sat for a year listening to you on the program because I have a doctorate and I need to tell you what to do, but God said keep your mouth shut. And I came here trying to figure out how I fit in this program, and I fit, but I'm not struggling with paying my bills and all of that. But just what you said today, I had a talk with God yesterday, and I've always had a good relationship with him, but it's like we needed to go behind the barn and have it out. Because for 40 years I've tried to figure out, why did you allow me to get to be in Screen Actors Guild, work a little bit, you took it all away. Sure, I got to be a national award-winning educator, I affected 4,000 lives, I've contributed, but you never gave me what I wanted. And just in what you said, my family history and all of that, I've wanted the puzzle. Please answer this question. I'm boop years old. Please answer this question. And you and what you shared and your history, you've given me the tools. It's time for me to come out of the cave. And I've been bleeding for many, many years, and you wouldn't know it. So I belong here, and I thank you for connecting huge dots for me that have been unconnected for many, many years.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Next. If you want to come up and use this mic, that's fine. It's possible. Not easy, but it's possible.
Hi, I'm somebody else too. I've really been appreciating Andrew's focus on the principle and keeping it simple. So if 4 is truth and 5 is honesty, how is it that I am now able to say my truth. And so the very, very short version of the family dynamic was I had no voice. It was safer to tell the lie, regardless of, you know, whether it was my lie or somebody else's lie, but it was not safe to tell the truth. And so in sharing with my partner, what I'm finding today, and you said this yesterday, it's like, if we want to know what our future is, look at what we're doing today. I mean, if we want to know how we got to where we are today, look at our past. So being here today is, you know, very valuable. So the truth for me is how it is that I would twist messages and take on either the neglect or the abuse I got as a child. And so I would not necessarily neglect my bills, because I would know I had bills, but I would neglect earning the money to pay the bills. And so this, you know, mental twist of being dishonest with myself to then be able to say, it's true, I can earn money. I have earned money. And so now it's going back into looking at that fourth column. And I've always heard it, it's like, how would God have me be? You know, so if I'm looking at my character defects and how that, you know, self-seeking, well, I've been trying to work with a company for about 8 months. You know, well, they keep postponing me. I'm addicted to postponement. So it was a perfect relationship because they're postponing me and I'm addicted to postponement. So of course I'm going to wait indefinitely for them to get around to hiring me. So if you can see the insanity, believe me, before I left, I found another company to, you know, just simply drop off my stuff, and it's like, hey, call me if you're interested. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm a fellow amongst fellows, and I'm going to just stop off and just say hello. And my resentments. I resented a fellow because they were talking late at night, and it affected my security and social instinct and my ambitions. And what I discovered is doing this is I was very inconsiderate that this person is maybe from out of town. This is a different time for her. And this was the time that she got to talk to people that she needed to talk to. I was being selfish. It was like, what about me? I was being dishonest because I didn't say anything at first. I was being fearful because I thought that she wouldn't like me if I told the truth. Then there was another person that I was resentful for because I had to share a bathroom. And I thought, oh my goodness, I was so mad because I paid the right price. And this affected my instincts, all of them. And it also affected my ambitions. And I realized that I was being very selfish. This was about me. What about me? What about Daryl? I wanted to be comfortable. And I was being dishonest because I didn't say anything. Again, my fear that nobody would like me and my inconsideration that I am just a fellow amongst fellow. This is a community here, and that I can let go, and it's not about me. I was very resentful about my half and half being drunk, and I bought enough for a couple people, and what happened is they drank it all and I didn't get enough. So it hit my instincts and it got me going. And I realized I was being very selfish again. You know, what about me? Where's mine? I'm being very self-seeking. I need more of this. And I was being dishonest, fearful that people wouldn't like me if I said the truth. And I was being inconsiderate because, you know what? Maybe my part is to hide it for me if I needed it for just me. And I could go on, and I can get all teary about this. But doing your inventory is so important because it places you in right size. And I'm just a fellow amongst fellows, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great that we're all here being willing to be brave to put this out to our neighbors and to the world and to God. Yes, go ahead, Crystal.
Hi, I'm Crystal from the East Bay. I had a new resentment that came up when I went to Hawaii this summer to start my own business. I had arranged for my apartment for June 1st. And my sister and her husband had this open-ended invitation to family and friends that if anyone wanted to come stay with them for up to 2 weeks in Hawaii, that we could. And so I said, hey sis, my apartment's for June 1st. Can I come 10 days early in May for my lifeguard certification and stay with you, and I can visit, and then I can do that 4 days of certification. Anyway, her and her husband decided that they didn't want me to come over there and do any sort of business, that they wanted me to be there visiting them in a family way, and really it hurt my feelings and affected my social instinct and my security instinct, because I was fear, because I was afraid, oh, what am I going to do, where am I going to go? I had expectations that family is supposed to act a certain way. It was controlling, and I wasn't giving them the right and the dignity to live their life the way they want to, and I was being inconsiderate about it's their house, their rules, and they want to do it a certain way, and I'm sitting here controlling them, saying, you're not being fair, that's not right, that's not fair, that's not right, me. And that's the resentment of the summer.
One more.
I put down a resentment that I had this week. I had a young man doing some work at my rental house, and he overcharged me for delivery of hay, and he had hit the roof with the backhoe. And so I got angry. That affected my security and my social. And the character defects were fear, financial fear. I didn't get angry when he hit the roof and damaged it and didn't offer to pay for it. I didn't charge him for it. He replaced the board but not the tin. And so I let that anger pile up, I guess, because then I really got angry when he wanted to overcharge me for something. And my part in it was I didn't ask him before he did that if he was going to charge me and how much he was going to charge me to drive this 4 miles. So this is a part of my under-earning, is not making things clear on the front end consistently. I've improved tremendously with that, but I'll still get a few times when I don't do that. And then another one I put was I'm angry with I have a resentment towards this girl at work who's cheated me out of hours and lied to the boss about me. It affects my security and my social instinct, and I get afraid financially about it. And then I had one about a girlfriend. She was making decisions for my life and telling me what I need to do. And it upsets me because she hasn't even heard all the facts, so her feedback, in my opinion, isn't valuable without hearing all the facts. That affects my social and my security. So I found those two were a lot of the things. And a lot of it was either selfishness or mostly fear.
Okay, thank you. So this is my suggestion for everyone in the room today. Today, when we think of people that we resent, or we hear someone say something we resent them for saying it, or we have a situation where we resent the situation, remember, resenti is, in its Latin word, means to refeel. To refeel. So anger is okay initially if it's done well, We don't go crazy with it. But then resentment is re-feeling that anger. If I'm on a corner, someone hits me over the head with a hammer, I'll be angry. I'm not going to be happy about it. But at that point, I have to forgive them. Forgiveness is not approval. Forgiveness is saying, I'm letting go of my anger to you. Forgiveness is not approval. Forgiveness is saying, I'm letting go. I'm choosing. I'm making the choice, spiritual choice of letting go of my anger towards you or of myself. So today, if you are angry at anyone, remember the next step is resentment, to re-feel that anger. So my suggestion is pray for that person. So if Joe says something and you're thinking, that son of a bleep, how can he look at me and say that? The next beat, if you really want to clear out the channel, say, I pray for Joe's health, wealth, and prosperity. May he have a great life, great abundance, and peace, if it be thy will. If Sue comes over and you're waiting online, she cuts in front of you, and you're thinking, I'm waiting online. Where do you come off cutting in front of me on the line? Say, I pray for Sue's health, wealth, prosperity, and happiness. May she have a great life, great peace, and abundance, if it be thy will. Believe me, guys, I do this hundreds and hundreds of times a year. Because when you're in outside sales, and maybe in any business, things crop up. People lie. Things that you thought were going to happen didn't sometimes happen. So when I do this, I wake up the next day and I'm at peace. If I don't do it, the next day is that I'm looking at the video in my head thinking, oh, I can't believe that person lied, or they did this, or they did that. And at that point, I'm blocking my will from, I'm taking back my will. I'm fostering my victimization. And I'm sitting there in my garbage and blocking out God. So anything that happens today, remember, the anger initially is fine, but the next step is prayer for that person. Because we cannot afford resentment, and as in every AA meeting, resentment is the number one offender. That's fine. Everyone knows that truth in 12-step. But that's not good enough. We have to pray for that person, because we're not doing it ultimately for them. We're doing it for us. In fact, I've got some very rich relatives that whenever I see them, the morning that I see them, I pray for them before I get there. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some insurance out against resentment for that day. And I really believe that prayer is like email. If I really pray for somebody and I really mean it, they will experience it on some level. If there's a person I'm having difficulty with in business or personally, I'll pray for them before I see them. And I've done that for some people here, before I see them. I really believe that praying for someone, just like resenting someone, is email. We don't know how it works, it just does. Okay, let's finish up with serenity prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you for letting me be of service.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.